everyone, we are super excited today. We have been resting on this mead for about 2 weeks now. If you didn't see our last video, we showed you guys how to put on your very first batch of mead. And so now, this week, we're gonna show you all how to troubleshoot it. Like if something didn't go right, like we're gonna show you how to maybe fix some of that. We're also gonna show you what's normal. So, there's certain things that, new home brewers kind of get put off by that we're gonna show you is completely normal and totally fine. So without further ado, we're gonna get started. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so one of the first things that homebrewers want to know though is, you're right there,
I'm good.
is what's normal when they're homebrewing. And so when you're taking a look at this first gallon of mead that you've made, what are some of the things that homebrewers should see in their mead?
Well, you should see, or it's normal for you to have like growth and scum and bubbles and really like a whole bunch of stuff just floating on the top of it. That's perfectly normal.
And we had seen like a considerable amount of foam just like a week ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there's still like some residue on the...
Yeah, the whole thing was full of foam. And so that's perfectly normal. That's a good, healthy fermentation.
All right. What else? Like bubbles, right?
Yeah, bubbles, you'll see stuff rising up. You'll see like usually about a half inch to an inch of yeast just sitting on the bottom. That's all normal. That's a really good sign. That means your yeast is growing and it's happy.
And then like airlock should be bubbling too, right?
Yeah, this thing should be bubbling. So ours is all full of bubbles. So I think we're on the right track.
Yeah, I think like I hear a lot of the time, new homebrewers might see some white scum on the top and freak out. Like they think it's moldy, that it's gone bad, that like, they need to throw out the whole batch. And, what do some of us say? It's like, yeah, it's terrible. You should just send it to us,
Send
right?
it to me.
So all normal signs. What's not normal?
Well, one of the first things you can do is taste it. So if it tastes horrible, like you should spit it out horrible, then it's probably got infected or it's not working.
Yeah, so like you wouldn't like the taste of it. So right now, you could stop the fermentation, right, and drink it.
Yeah, I mean it could taste like bland and not like the flavor you wanted, but if it tastes like vinegar or sour and it's not supposed to be a sour, then yeah, that's a bad sign.
How about smells?
Smells, if you smell a lot of sulfur, it could mean that it's just like over stressing the yeast. And so
Stress?
yeah.
Can yeast get stressed?
Yeah, if they don't get enough oxygen and nutrients or there's too much CO2 in the mead, then they'll like get kind of stressed out because they're not thriving.
Right, so smells are bad. What do you do if you smell something bad?
So if you smell something bad, what you should do is you've probably got a backlog of CO2 in there that you can try to release, or you need to add some nutrients to it. And nutrients are like a whole another topic, and you can get into that.
Yeah, we can make a
time.
whole video just on yeast nutrients alone. It gets into a lot of just like chemistry and learning like more advanced topics about mead. So we really want to just focus on like the basics right now. But hopefully in a future video, maybe we can get to some of those advanced topics that you might be curious about with yeast nutrients.
I guess the first thing you should check is like if your yeast is alive or dead. And so like if you think you got a bad batch of yeast, you could just try putting another packet in. Like if you started your whole recipe and nothing happened, like throw another packet of yeast in and see what happens.
How do you know?
What do you mean?
How do you know if the yeast is bad?
Just like if nothing happens. So you mix it and you start it and there's no bubbles coming out.
And it just looks boring.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah,
you taste it and there's no alcohol, or you measure it and there's no alcohol, then you probably got bad yeast.
So measuring the alcohol though, we should be doing specific gravity readings, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So break out your hydrometer, we got one here. And so we can do our specific gravity reading and see how much we've gained.
Yeah.
How much fermentation's happened.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Now what about that CO2 you were talking about?
CO2, so if you've got too much like gas dissolved in it, see how these bubbles are coming out? If they're not getting out enough,
You can degas it?
yeah, you can degas it. So you can just get in there and stir it up and release all the CO2. that'll help the yeast be happier. It'll also introduce some oxygen into it, which is good for the yeast at the very beginning of the fermentation.
So you want to do that now?
Sure.
All right, let's show you guys how to degas in the home brewing sense. So you want to make sure that, you know, if you're touching your mead, touch the outside. So nothing that could be on the inside of your mead. So I'm just going to unscrew the cap here, and I'm going to keep my grubby hands off anything on the
You gotta
inside.
be careful of the tip of the thing.
The airlock?
Yeah. Actually, one of the first things before I do this, I like to just swirl it, because that
Should I leave the lid on?
you can leave the lid on. 'Cause
Okay,
it'll
I'll
shut
screw it back on.
all the bubbles coming out. So I like to just you just kind of spin it around, and you'll see a whole bunch of gas come out. And that
Oh yeah,
helps.
look at it, it's going crazy. Yeah, so there's like, you know, you can see almost like, you know, when you open a can of soda or something.
Yeah. And so if you don't do this first and you go straight to the drill, it can like shoot out. And probably won't on this one because I got the wide mouth, but if you got a narrow one, like I've seen it shoot up.
Yeah, all over the floor. Yeah, just huge mess to clean up. Did it on a floor mat once.
Yeah,
To
that was
have-
helpful.
We had to wash off a floor mat, but yeah, still. Oh look, so see like the bubbles are coming up through the top there. And so we're not really like disturbing the yeast at the bottom either though, right? It's, I mean, we're kind of stirring it up, but it's not like
But it doesn't matter.
it all just will suspend back down.
I don't think it's gonna work.
There you go. So yeah, definitely getting some bubbles up there. Look at that. And see, like even the volume of the liquid dropped a little bit. So that was like all dissolved gases in the liquid, which, you know, add to the total volume there.
So you just wait there.
I'm just gonna chill with this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hold
You're doing
it,
a good job.
not let it touch anything.
Yeah.
Maybe grab a drink while we're at it, off camera. Alright, so we're gonna do a hydrometer reading. We're gonna check to see what specific gravity we've got. And so depending on, you know, how much it's changed since we started or since our original gravity, it'll tell us how complete fermentation is. Ideally we'd be shooting for what, 1?
Yeah, 1.0-ish. Or no, I kind of like 1.05 or 1.1
Okay.
for sweeter tasting. I like the sweet ones.
Yeah.
But I can do that. It's only 2 of these things. It's like 1 glass of mead. Let's see if that works.
Alright, doing a little hydrometer reading here. Still pretty hot.
Yeah. What's that?
1.072. Okay.
So that might not have been bad to degas. And then we're gonna taste this.
So that we're not committing alcohol abuse, we're actually gonna drink this and see how it tastes. One of the key signs, right, is that if it doesn't taste good, then you could have had some contamination. Let's see how it tastes. What is this, about 8%?
9, right?
I think about 8, yeah.
Hey. Who's this who's?
And the pink one. Cheers.
Cheers.
Sweet.
It's delicious.
It's really good. So it's still very sweet,
Yeah,
but
it
you can taste the
needs,
booze.
needs to go a little longer.
Yeah.
Probably like another 2 weeks then.
because fermentation will get slower the longer it goes, right? It's like,
Yeah.
if you look at it graphically, you get a lot of fermentation the first couple days, and then it kind of starts tapering off until it just, stops altogether.
Yeah.
If you ever done calculus, it's like when you have like the derivative.
Yeah. Calculus.
All right, so what's next? What do we do next?
Well, everything's going good, so
Get back in camera.
everything's going good on this one, so I wasn't gonna put any nutrients or any of that in there. It seems like it's going well, and I don't really see the need.
So, I mean, if you're following all these steps, you can see it's like we're on track, we're doing good. But, you could have pitched a yeast and it stopped or stalled or didn't work at all, like Phil mentioned earlier. If that's the case, then you'd want to pitch a new one. But there's one caveat there that we recommend, right? So you could have had a yeast packet that was dead already, or you could have used a yeast that wasn't compatible with the original gravity that you had in your mead. So when you first start, your original specific gravity is going to be really, really high. There's some yeast strains that just don't tolerate that really well. You pitch it in, they're not very strong, they don't survive in such a hot alcohol-wise sort of climate, and then they just die off and they don't complete fermentation. So you've used some high gravity yeast in particular, right? Do you remember what they are?
Like the White Labs one and the white yeast. Yeah, those ones are pretty good.
So using like a high quality, high alcohol tolerant yeast would really help to make sure that your fermentation stays strong. Granted, if you use those in like a normal batch, you're gonna drive it like really, really dry, just reach all the way to zero, and it's not gonna, you might wanna back sweeten that to get it sweet again, right? So, what's next after this? Like, where do we go from here?
Well, we let it finish fermenting, and you'll know it's done when the gravity stops changing, and just bottle it.
Yeah. So our next step is that we're gonna let this finish fermenting. We'll see you back when it's done. We'll show you how to rack it, what you should think about while aging and bottling your mead. So in the meantime, stick this guy back into a really cool environment where it's gonna, dark environment, right? You don't want a lot of sunshine hitting this and, breaking it down.
Like we
You want to stick it in a closet that's, in a good temperature range, somewhere between 65 and 72, 74 degrees.
Yeah.
Really depends on your yeast strain. So just like chill out, be patient, let it finish out, and we will see you back when it's done. All right, guys, we got a lot of stuff in the works. We're really excited to be back in homebrewing and getting back into the action here. Got a lot of recipes that we want to try. If you want to stay tuned and see what we're working on, be sure to click like, click subscribe, and leave a comment down below. So what's in the works? We've got a blackberry mead. We're actually going to turn this into a blackberry mead here in a little bit. I'm going to be doing a blackberry wine. My hands are all scratched up from picking blackberries. And then I've got a Pinot Noir I'm going to make, and then we're also making, a milk stout?
Yep.
So we are brewing up a storm. We've got a lot of alcohol we're going to be making. So if you want to see those future recipes, definitely click subscribe and turn on your notifications. If you have a specific recipe that you want to see, leave a comment down below and we'll make it. So challenge accepted. We're really excited to be learning new things, new recipes, and meeting the different homebrewers up here in the state of Washington. So until next time, see ya.